Blue Magic is the world's first pheromonal replication plant-based fungicide and pesticide that we are now pretty heavily moving into the agricultural market and the home and garden market. We just wrapped up some studies with Auburn
Yeah.
University that were extremely prolific, very good studies and research compared to most common products used in organic farming today, and even a couple that are used in non-organic farming, which is great when we can go out there and be more effective than a chemical-based product, and typically cheaper on our side. Again, this pheromonal complex,
Mhm.
extremely effective. Chiggers, fleas, mosquitoes, flying insects, no-see-ums. Saying that
What?
for our pets,
Okay.
we do have a spray and a
Yeah.
shampoo that has added cedar oil and peppermint that is very effective on ticks.
Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have with us Ryan Early. Ryan is the controlling owner of Bluegreen Ventures, Cantech Labs, and the general contractor for the Northwestern Oklahoma State University Industrial Pilot Program. Well, welcome to our show, Ryan.
Thank you for having me, Shannon.
No problem, my friend. No problem. I'm glad to have you on the show. It sounds like you've been doing some phenomenal work here. You're known as Farmer Ryan as well.
Well, that's what they call me. A
Yeah.
title duly
So you,
earned.
yeah. So you go right hands on in your research, I hear, right?
100%. Yes, sir. Brief back history, I guess, on how I got into research
Sure,
and
of course.
developing that program. Growing up here in Oklahoma, I've lived here all my life, Oklahoma City, 40 years
Mhm.
old now. And at the age of 13, I discovered cannabis. I discovered that it was something that could help me not need to take AD medication or anxiety medication or a lot of the things that the doctors were wanting me to prescribe, and didn't know why, but knew it helped. And growing up here, partying in the fields, cornfields and whatnot, there was always
Yeah,
some old hemp or ditchweed or whatever you want to call it on
yeah,
the sides of the
yeah.
roads. And I had always was curious about how it got there. And I began working with local legislators in 2017, actually 2016, to draft legislation that would allow the research and study of industrial hemp here in Oklahoma, and kind of let us start going out and seeing what that was. And ultimately, with local legislator Mickey Dollins, we authored House Bill 2913, and that allowed Oklahoma businesses to partner with local universities to conduct research only studies on industrial hemp. And
Mhm.
our program that I put together was Project Hemp for Victory. We went out into all 77 counties in Oklahoma and then essentially found feral cannabis, feral hemp. And people say, why? How? Our first question was, why did hemp get in every county in Oklahoma when it's really not a native plant here? It was brought
Yeah.
here by many tribes over the years during the Oklahoma territorialization. And again, those tribes being shipped here from all over the country. But mainly, we found that the U.S. government in 1938 and 39 went all over the world and collected different varietals of cannabis,
Oh,
hemp, from our enemies, from our allies, to bring it here to see if maybe there was a better varietal for long strand fiber, which was used in sailor ships' riggings, clothing, flags, sails, tents. History doesn't really get into that so much. We want to think it was cotton and nylon back then. It actually was not. It was hemp fiber. And the reason they chose Oklahoma is because Oklahoma is the only state in the country that represents all 9 agricultural microclimates. In other words, it made a perfect testing ground and proving ground to bring these different varietals from these different environments around the world to America to see what was going to be the most sustainable for us. And they did they ultimately found 2 cultivar that they chose, and they took those to Kentucky and Illinois and grew right around 140,000 acres in 1940 and 41, which ultimately supplied the fiber that was necessary for World War II. And bear in mind, this is all just a few years after passing the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act, which classed industrial hemp and traditional cannabis and gave it the differentiated terms in legislation of marijuana and hemp. Until then, it was all just cannabis. Some had more THC, like the southern varietals in Mexico, and some had none, like found in Europe and all over North America. But they were all dubbed together in one classification. And so it's unique that the U.S. government had to go back and ask local farmers quietly to grow this cannabis for the war. And it's something that most states didn't hear anything about, and you won't find much about in our history books. And again, that was kind of the basis to our research program. And I'll stop right there in case you have any questions.
Yeah. So, what is the hemp fiber used for?
Hemp fiber has been used for thousands of years. Yeah. Nowadays, it's on the rise. It's been extinctified, if you will, in America, mainly due to William Randolph Hearst and William DuPont in the late 19s and early 20s began the slanderous campaign, because hemp is a direct competitor with trees for paper and paper mills. And William Randolph Hearst owned right around 400,000 acres, Tennessee, in 1920. And as hemp farming was on the rise, so industrial hemp can produce 4 times as much long strand fiber for paper per acre than trees. And it can be harvested twice a year instead of once every 10 or 20 years. So
big benefits.
Major competitor. And Mr. Hearst going out and buying all this land for the last 10, 20 years, building his empire for paper from trees. And Mr. DuPont, which was the chemical supplier for the stripping, the creation of the paper pulp, decided that it may be best should they lobby and demonize this competitor of theirs. At the same time, Mr. Henry Ford was in development during the late 1920s, and in 1941 actually released his hemp car. Now, this automobile was completely built from hemp, and it's on YouTube.
No way.
Great. Yeah, brother. Great links. Wow. This car had hemp tires, had hemp paneling, which was stronger than steel or carbon fiber, ran on hemp ethanol.
So they have to glue it. They would have to glue it together to make the body, though, right? It has to be some kind of process.
It's fiberglass.
Oh, fiberglass.
Yes. So it's using hemp resin and hemp fibers. Now, I'll tell you right now, Boeing and Lockheed are both studying on hemp resin tech. NASA is studying hemp resin tech for space because, again, it's stronger than Kevlar and lighter than, yes, sir. I'm working with several groups who, and I'll circle back on this in a minute, but who are developing technologies for windmill blade replacements. Instead of using fiberglass that takes 700 years to break down in our soil, these hemp blades take 60 years to break down in our soil. And so there's a lot of exciting technologies that are, now that we're able to fully research what this plant is capable of, we can truly understand the damage that's been done by not having this research available for the last 80 years. Now we can apply technology to a plant that we've never really been able to truly go after here in the United States. In countries like the Netherlands, New Zealand, they've been growing hemp. China, they've been growing hemp for hundreds of years. They've never stopped. It's a major part of their economy for rope. And that's the deal. If you buy a rope that is older than about 1950, that rope is hemp. That is not cotton. That is not nylon. That is a hemp rope.
And it was just completely removed from the market between then and now.
It only takes a couple of generations to cover up,
to forget something,
atrocities, and especially if it's taken out of the history books, if it's not openly discussed. But the evidence is there. Our flags, up until the 1950s, our American flags were all produced from hemp. They weather better than cotton. They can get wet. and wick out and not
You can make
become brittle.
clothing?
Oh, yes, sir.
Sorry.
It lasts so much longer. The ability to wash it and it retain its shape and not shrink and stretch, so much more elasticity as far as longevity of the material. The problem is, again, the textile industries, building materials industries, all of these industries have been banned or barred from looking at and developing these technologies. And now we're seeing groups, even Elon Musk has got a substantial investment in developing hemp batteries using hemp nanocarbon versus lithium. And I think that's something that you're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years on the market because they're 100% sustainable.
Wow.
And no ecological impacts from the stripping of lithium, et cetera.
Yeah. And I can imagine that this hemp fiber can also produce carpets, like machine-made carpets and stuff.
100%. Textiles. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a company in Texas.
How is the cost?
So that's the problem right now.
Compared
that there's not enough hemp being farmed in America, right? And it's not even the farm side of it. It's more of the processing side. There's not enough companies that are willing to spend the investment, develop a sustainable product. Now, there's a company named 8,000 Kicks that has a hemp shoe that is completely built from hemp. The sole is a hemp styrofoam and a hemp rubber, everything on the shoe, and they're waterproof. And they're fairly affordable. They're about $100. Good pair of Nikes, about $100.
So it's a cheaper material too. I take it.
It should be, but it's more expensive to produce than, say, nylon or petroleum-based product because it has to be farmed. It has to be grown. And unfortunately, costs are on the rise.
Yeah.
There are issues with sustainability, but I guess at some point we have to make that choice, right? To go, hey, as humanity, we have to look at getting away from these caustic, petroleum-based, synthetic, high carbon emission products. And I drive a pickup truck. I'm in the country, right? I'm in no way a climatologist. However, I have 2 eyes and I can see what's happening to our people, our pets, our kids, our food, our farms. We know what's going on. And that's what's driven me to develop new technologies such as Blue Magic. I would love to take this into chapter 2 now. And so after we went out and we collected these genetics, right, from every county, we actually pulled 114 different strains from all over the state. And so there's probably more brought here. I'm sure we didn't get it all. But as of now, we know the U.S. government had 114 plus genetics brought here from all over the world. And as we started researching each one of these and doing the chemical analysis, the breakdown, we realized that one specific genetic had no CBD, no THC, which are the 2 common compounds in cannabis, for those that don't know. And it had only 6 specific biochemicals, sesquiterpenes, that replicate the same pheromonal excretions as, say, mosquitoes, chiggers, fleas, thrips, spider mites, all kinds of non-predatory insects, as a warning mechanism, a defense mechanism, telling them to go away, there's danger. At the same time, it is a dinner bell to the beneficial bugs we want in our gardens and around our homes, like praying mantis and ladybugs and bugs that eat other bugs, right? This pheromonal complex, this plant, after 80 years of evolution, right, on its own in the wild, growing by a creekside, had developed the mechanisms to protect itself. Now, upon further research, we also found that same complex is extremely effective as an antifungal. And so for white powdery mildew, black spot, several different types of fungus, and even now we're doing some pathogenic research on bacteria, very effective at eradicating that. And that led us to the development of a product called Blue Magic. And Blue Magic is the world's first pheromonal replication, plant-based fungicide and pesticide that we are now pretty heavily moving into the agricultural market and the home and garden market. We just wrapped up some studies with Auburn University that were extremely prolific, very good studies and research compared to most common products used in organic farming today, and even a couple that are used in non-organic farming, which is great when we can go out there and be more effective than a chemical-based product, and typically cheaper on our side. But we're really excited about the next 90 days launching our pet and people products. Again, this pheromonal complex, extremely effective. Chiggers, fleas, mosquitoes, flying insects, no-see-ums, sand gnats.
What about ticks?
So it specifically is not effective on a tick. However, for our pets,
Okay.
we do have a spray and a shampoo that has added cedar oil and peppermint that is very effective on ticks.
And this could be even created in a paint, for example, if somebody wanted to spray or paint their foundation just to avoid molding in more wet areas.
Absolutely. It can be used as a treatment on areas that have been infected with mold or bacterial areas. Those are all new. The technology that we have discovered in this plant, and now we have to discover what all we can apply it to. And so I just partnered with a company out of Texas that does the flexible, soft dog collars for your pets and cats. And we are in R&D right now, a pheromonal pet collar for, and the benefit to that is that A, it's safe to have Fluffy on your lap. You're not touching a chemical collar. Fluffy's not getting chemicals rubbed on them every day. And the cool part is that when Fluffy's on your lap, sure. When Fluffy's on your lap now the flying insects don't want to be around either one of you, which is cool too.
Yeah.
And then we also have a waterless shampoo and a spray for the pets. Now on our people, we just completed the development or are now in the research phase of a mineral-based, all-natural SPF 40 sunscreen that incorporates this technology as a pest repellent as well. And we're in our waterproof ratings. We're shooting for a 90-minute waterproof rating, but if we can get 60, I'll be extremely happy. And that is going to be super exciting because there's just nothing like it on the market. I've got 5 kids. I buy a lot of sunscreen. We got a boat at the lake, right? Like we go through it and I'm buying this stuff. And it seems like every year they're coming out with a new warning, right? Of, this sunscreen, right, is now linked to cancer. And it's shit, last year that was the good one. What am I supposed to do? I still got 3 bottles of that. What the hell?
Yeah. I still got 3 bottles. I bought it from Costco.
I'm extremely honored and blessed to be chosen by the good Lord's grace to walk up on this patch of cannabis growing in the middle of America and get to be the one that brings these sustainable solutions to market. I'm honored.
Yeah. What about some states have legality behind hemp? Is that a problem with this product?
No, sir. So what's really unique about Blue Magic is that we discovered this strain of cannabis.
Fiber.
No. So the 2018 Farm Bill, the federal Farm Bill, legalized hemp in all 50 states. Even if the state has an issue,
so it's not
around the state to the federal government, and the USDA can issue you a grant. Now, marijuana, I think there's still only like 37 states that are legal for marijuana. But when it comes to industrial hemp,
this is different.
Federally legalized. Yes, sir. Now, I do want to stress that Blue Magic, another unique factor is that all 6 of those original complexes we use can be sourced individually from other plants around the world. And so we are able to recreate that exact profile that we observed from other plants that are legal in all countries and all over the world. And that is how we produce Blue Magic. So we are completely compliant. There's no cannabis in the product, but the patent and the basis of the technology is held within the lost hemp fields of Oklahoma.
That's awesome. I love it, Ryan. It's amazing the stuff that you're doing. We need more of this. And I can see that you're coming up with new research and inventions around it. We definitely need that because the more you think about what we're putting into the ground and what's going to happen in another 100, 200, 500 years, because really this is what we got, this planet. What we do today will help the future generations. So kudos to you and continue that on. And I appreciate you taking the time to come on our show today.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me. And I've had a blast. It's been fun.
I'm grateful. Thank you so much. And audience, once again, thank you for joining us. Take a look at Ryan's the show notes and his site information, research. He's doing some phenomenal work. Definitely worth looking into. Even as an entrepreneur, there's some hidden gems in what he was saying. If you heard him, definitely there's an area where you can actually look into where you could benefit in your world as well. And appreciate you guys. And Ryan, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, Shadid.
My pleasure.